Hello, Tipsy Coffee Labradoodle Puppy families. This is your week 2 litter update. And in today's video, we are going to talk about each one of these mini Australian Labradoodle puppies. And we're also going to see whether they met their next milestone, which is having their eyes open. We're going to do a little update on Mama Labradoodle Tippy. And we're also going to talk about the key partners in your puppy's life, and that's your vet, your groomer, and your trainer. Hi, I'm Claire from Van Isle Labradoodles, and these mini Australian Labradoodle puppies are flourishing. You can see they all have beautiful shiny coats. Everybody's a nice, plump, juicy puppy. And you can see that Mama Tippy, she looks a little funny right now because she was just outside, and Tippy loves to play with water. So she was dunking her head in the hose. So she's got a little bit of wet here on the top of her head. So she looks a little bit messy right now, but she's doing great. So let's just talk about Mama Labradoodle Tippy for a moment. As you all know, if you've been following along with this litter, Tippy had to have an emergency C-section after she had delivered these 4 puppies that she had. She had 2 other puppies who did not survive that surgery, but Tippy did. Tippy is doing marvelously. Her incision has healed beautifully. We put a series of natural products on the incision, and that has made it so that Tippy has not bothered the incision at all, and it's completely healed now. So she's right back to normal and doing great. Her appetite is good. Sometimes we have to hand feed her lunch. I can see in her dish right now that she didn't eat everything from her lunch, so I will give that to her after we finish filming the video. But breakfast and dinner, she gobbles everything up, and she enjoys eating her little snack during the evenings too. We always leave food overnight for Mama Labradoodles because when they're lactating, you never want them to be without food or water. So it's important we always have something for them to eat. And if you're wondering about whether you can leave raw food out overnight, you can. Dogs have stomachs that are designed to deal with a much higher bacterial load than humans can. So if they were not being fed by people, they would eat things that perhaps have died and been dead and out in the sun for several days. So leaving raw food overnight is not a big issue. Now for us, we tend not to do that, mostly because we don't want it to attract ants. So we don't want to have a bunch of ants running around our maternity ward. So instead, we usually leave out freeze-dried or something that isn't in a raw state. And Tippy's quite happy to eat whatever it is you leave out for her. Now for the puppies, what have they been up to this past week? Well, mostly they've been working on growing, and you can see that they have accomplished that very nicely. You can see a slight change in their coats this week. So Miss Red Collar Girl, you can see, is a little bit of a darker hue. Purple and orange are still a very, very dark chocolate. And you can see that little green, we call him Squirt. He is just a smidge lighter in his chocolate coloring. He is still, though, quite a nice dark chocolate, but he's getting some really pretty golden hues in there. The puppies are all starting to move around a little bit. They're starting to make a bit more noise. They're starting to become a little bit more independent as Tippy leaves them for longer and longer periods. And now when I say she leaves them for longer and longer periods, I'm talking about 15 minutes max. Now Tippy now comes out in the back with us and runs around in the back. When it's not raining, we don't need to worry so much about the threat of coccidia. Coccidia comes from rabbits. We live in a rural location. We're on 5 acres just outside of Maple Bay on Vancouver Island, and we have a very healthy population of rabbits. We also have a very healthy population of deer. And when the deer and rabbits go through the back of our property where the dogs run, of course they poop. And the dogs may walk in it, the dogs may actually eat it. When it's raining, it disperses over a wider area. When it's warm and sunny like it is during the summer right now, it tends not to do that, so it's safer for the dogs to go out and not bring the coccidia back. Now, about 35% of dogs, up to 40%, have coccidia all the time. It doesn't bother them as long as they're a mature, healthy adult. Unless they're under extreme stress or they're very young or very old, it's really something that's quite benign. But when you have the infant puppies that are young like this, it can make them quite ill. However, there are ways to treat them that are safe for their age, and usually it's something that they get over in a few days. But if we can avoid it, it's better. So the puppies are all thriving, they're all growing, their weights are all doing really well. And the big milestone for this week is opening their eyes. Now, do you wonder why puppies are born with their eyes sealed shut? It's because their immune systems, or not their immune systems, sorry, their neurological systems are not ready to absorb all of the stimuli that comes from when their eyes are open. It's the same reason why they're born with their ears sealed shut. They're just not at the point where they're able to handle all of that sensory input. So nature has designed it so when they're born, they don't see, they don't hear. All they do is smell and concentrate on being next to mom, who they can smell, being warm, and eating. And that's it. They don't do anything else. And then once their systems start to mature and they're able to handle more information, then their eyes open first. Usually eyes open anywhere between day 10 and 21. Usually it's day 14 is the average age for the puppies to open their eyes. And then the ears follow soon after. Usually we have the ears open around 3 weeks to day 28. Now, if you happen to have a puppy whose eyes haven't opened, then what you do is you want to go to your veterinarian. All he does is open the eye up by opening it like this, and of course I could do that. However, there can be things and signs around the eye and eye health that I can't see and I'm not knowledgeable enough to know about. So I always go to the vet first. We always make sure we do it in a sterile environment. I've only had to do it once with one puppy, and then all it was the lids need to be opened because they had a slight crust on them. Sometimes there's a little bit of discharge over the eye, and that can seal the eyelid shut. Even though the puppy's ready to open their eyes, they can't actually get the eyelids separated. So for this one puppy we took in, it was just a matter of a warm compress and then just gently applying very light pressure, and then the puppy's eyes opened. And then we had to monitor and make sure that there wasn't a continuing discharge and there wasn't an infection in there that we couldn't see. There was nothing. The puppy was totally fine. But that's the reason why they can't open their eyes. Now, the other thing is puppies are all born with blue eyes. These puppies will not have blue eyes when they mature. Blue eyes in the Australian Labradoodle breed is a mutation and usually indicates there are other health risks and health issues. So you do not want to have an Australian Labradoodle with blue eyes. Green eyes appear sometimes. Green eyes are also very rare and a mutation as well, but they do not signify as many issues and potential health problems as a blue-eyed Australian Labradoodle does. What you want to find in your Australian Labradoodle is either brown or hazel eyes. That's what we see most often. So here with Red Collar Girl, because she is a caramel and lighter, she will have that lighter hazel colored eye. Whereas the 3 chocolates here will be more prone to have a dark chocolate eye. Now they might have a hazel colored eye, but most likely it's going to be dark chocolate. So it's basically, you will see hazels on the lighter coats. So if you look at Tippy's eyes, you want to show everybody your pretty eyes, you'll see that she has very light colored eyes. Hers are hazel with a little bit of green. Actually, she has quite a lot of green in the hazel part of her eyes. And that's because she's white all over her face here. And you can see she even has white eyelashes. So that's the predominant pigment around her eye area. And so that's why she does not have a dark brown eye, but that relates to the chocolate in her coat. And you can see her chocolate is also a very different color. It's not like this. It's very much more of a taupe color. And that's because she carries what we call the dilute gene, which just means that the coat dilutes. So that's it. Now, the other thing we want to talk about is the puppies, of course. So let's just get on right with them and see if they'll show us if their eyes are open or not and update you on their weights. So I'm just going to get my little app open here. There we go. And as always, we're going to go in birth order. So that means we start with our little fella here. Little Squirt, green collar. And Little Squirt is showing you his eyes. Little Squirt was the first puppy to open his eyes. He opened his eyes right on day 10. He was a real go-getter for being able to want to see the world. And this little guy is now 573 grams. Oh, yes, he's just doing just such a great job with his weight. He's just very, very tenacious. He's very good about making sure he can get right in there at the milk bar, get his fair share, and he's just doing beautifully. He's a nice roly-poly puppy, absolutely stunning looks. Just a real sweetheart. We love this little guy, our little champ. Here you go, Mr. Green. Oh, yeah, Tippy, better check him out just in case I did something wrong. She always has to be sure. Next is Red Collar, and Red Collar Girl is our caramel puppy here. And she's nursing, but she's almost asleep, so I don't think she'll mind if I take her off. And that also might encourage her, maybe, perhaps, to show her eyes. Her eyes are open. She opened her eyes on day 12. Oh, no, she doesn't want to show them. I'll see if I can just maybe give her a couple of little pets here and get her to open them up for you while we're talking about her. But no, maybe not. She has beautiful blue eyes, and she's just going to keep them to herself for now. And Red Collar Girl, she's 985 grams, so she's almost up to that 1 kilogram mark already. Pretty, pretty puppy. Very nice little girl. Sweet, gentle little girl. Doing great with the weight gain. And I'll just play around with her collar here and fuss with her just to see if we can get those eyes to show up. And show? No. Nope. No dice. Oh, well. Next time, we'll see if we can get a picture for you and show what her pretty blue eyes look like. Next, we have Orange Collar, who is right over here at the end. And she is nursing too. Come here. Come here. Or he, rather. Sorry. I think I just called you a girl. Did I call you a girl? And you're a boy. Sorry. There we go. Now, Mr. Orange, he opened his eyes on day 12, and he is very happy to show them to you. There you go, handsome. Yeah. Now, what can the puppies see right now? Well, not a lot. Mostly just big blobs. That's about it. They don't have a really good amount of focus yet. And Mr. Orange Collar is 806 grams. Oh, so good. This is a very good boy. Yes, this is a very good boy. And there you go again. You can see some more. We'll give double eyes on Orange since Ms. Red wasn't willing to share hers. And there's Tippy. Will make sure that I haven't done anything dreadfully wrong. I'll just put him back over on his spot here at the milk bar. Sometimes you wonder how they ever get on there because they seem to miss everything. And then we'll go to Purple Collar, our last puppy in the litter. And there we go. That's a good girl. There we go. And Purple is 866 grams, showing you her pretty eyes. And she too opened her eyes on day 12. So everybody was ahead of schedule. Everybody has had their eyes open for a few days now, and they're just doing really well. This is a really good indication of the overall health and wellness of the litter, and that the fact that they were away from Mama Tippy for a few days after her surgery has not bothered them in the least. And now let's talk about the partners you're going to have in your puppy's life once your puppy comes home to you. And that's going to be, most importantly, your vet, your trainer, and a groomer. So we're going to send all of our families a little video with more information on choosing your vet, trainer, and groomer. And please keep in mind that this video was shot a couple of years ago, before COVID, more than a couple of years ago now. And at that time, you were able to go and interview vets and have a choice of which veterinary clinic you wanted to go to. Now, sadly, there is a huge shortage of vets in Canada. It doesn't matter where you live, there's not very many of them. So you likely will not have quite as much freedom to choose, and what you'll be looking for more is one that is taking on new puppies. So you'll want to start phoning around right away and making sure you can secure yourself a vet. And when you do, once you figure out who's taking new patients, I would suggest that you take some time and you go down to their clinic. And you don't need to go in, take a look around, make sure you know what their hours are. If they don't do emergency, very few vets do now, make sure you know where the nearest emergency is so you'll know where you'll have to go should something terrible happen. So get their hours. Some clinics are not even open on the weekends any longer. My own clinic is only open Monday to Friday. So if something happens on Saturday, then I have to go to the emergency clinic because my vet's not available. So check those things out. Just take a quick walk through the clinic. Make sure that it's clean, tidy, professional looking. Get a feel for the atmosphere. You can always speak to the front desk staff. Just tell them that you're getting a new puppy. See if they're familiar with Australian Labradoodles, and at least understand that there's a difference between an Australian Labradoodle and an Aussie Doodle, which is not what you're getting. An Aussie Doodle is a cross between an Australian Shepherd and a Poodle. These dogs that you're getting do not have any Australian Shepherd in them. They're a much different breed, much more high energy and much more active type of breed. So just go get a feel. Maybe you'll be lucky and have more than one you can check out. Just make sure though that you're comfortable and you're going to be okay taking your puppy there. Even if you're going to change later, you want to be comfortable where you're going to start off with. If you have a preferred clinic, phone now, get your name on their waiting list. Most of them do have waiting lists that you can put your name onto. And then after that, same thing for a groomer. Now, if you're getting one of these puppies, you'll have a handout that goes home with you that you can take to your groomer and say, this is how I want my Australian Labradoodle to look. It is a guide to the proper Australian Labradoodle clip. And then go again to the grooming clinic. Again, just go make sure it's clean, tidy. Of course, there's going to be dog hair there. And that it's professionally set up, that the staff are warm and welcoming. Make sure that you're able to see where your puppy's being groomed. Every groomer should have at least a window so you can see in where they're working with the dogs. You don't want to go somewhere where everything's closed off. That would be a big red flag for me. And then the other thing for everyone who's on this litter list is post on our private community page and say, hey, I live in and I'm getting a puppy from the Tipsy coffee litter. Where do you get your Australian Labradoodle groomed? And that will give you a really good indication from our other families just where the good places are. You'll also probably get people who say, be sure you avoid XYZ grooming salon. Now, groomers are also extremely busy and in short supply, so it's not a bad idea to set up an appointment right away. You'll want to start taking your puppy in to get their eyes trimmed and a Santa cut on their bums, probably about 2 weeks after you take your puppy home. Definitely within 4 weeks. 2 weeks though is better. And that's just going to be having their eyes trimmed so that they don't have their hair over their eyes and having their bum shaved so the poop doesn't stick to their bum. And that's it. They don't need to have anything else done. They don't need to have a bath or anything. Just a very quick trim. And you may want to have them do the nails if you're uncomfortable working with a young puppy and their nails. So it's also really good for your puppy to be going and getting used to the groomer, the sounds and the smells and everything like that. So it's a good experience for the puppy, even though it's just a very short little trip that they'll be going for. And then the final thing is your trainer. The person that you are going to be learning with. Now, you probably already have figured out that when you go to training classes with your dog, it's actually you who's doing the learning and being trained, and then you're teaching the dog what you've learned as opposed to the dog actually learning. It's mostly teaching you what you need to do and how to communicate successfully with your dog and also understand what they're communicating to you. Of course, we all want to elicit behavior that we want from our puppy, and we have to remember the dogs are living in a completely foreign world. They're living in our world, and we're asking them to completely change how they would live so that they're living in harmony with us. So it's a big thing for them. So you want to make sure that the teacher you're working with, that you like them, that you feel comfortable, that you like their style. you'll want to ask, and these ones, trainers, there are quite a few of. You'll want to interview them. You'll want to ask them if they've worked with Australian Labradoodles. Make sure they know what an Australian Labradoodle is, that they understand what does and doesn't work with the breed. And then you'll want to ask if you can go and watch a puppy class or two and just go and observe. Are you comfortable there? Do you like the way that they're doing things? Do the dogs seem happy? Do the people seem happy? Or is it an environment where it seems a little bit harsh? Or perhaps there's too much being expected and people are uncomfortable? Just, you know, the general feel of it. And again, you want it to be clean, tidy, professionally run, and you'll want to be sure, of course, that the classes are times that work for you. If you live on Vancouver Island, the trainer that we always suggest first and foremost is Communicanine, and they're located in Brentwood Bay. Yeah, it's a bit of a drive for some of you, but it's well worth it. Their classes are excellent. They have trained many of Van Isle Doodle dogs. They're well familiar with Australian Labradoodles, and their puppy socialization class and then their manners class are excellent. So I would suggest you go onto their website right away and start looking for what classes are going to be available within 2 days to 2 weeks after you take your puppy home. Even if a class is full, put your name on the cancellation list. If you don't live on Vancouver Island and can't go to Communicanine, look at their website, read through it, get a feel for it, understand what they're doing, and then compare that to the ones that are closer to your areas. And again, this is a wonderful place to post on our community group, asking for suggestions from our other families who live in the same area as you do. So that's it for this week. Tippy and the puppies are going to be on their own after today. Jojo's puppies have graduated and are moving out to the Doodle Den. So Tippy will be here and have the whole place to herself. Next thing that we're going to be looking for is for the puppies to be opening their ears. They're going to start moving around more. And then next week, when we do our week 3 update, we may be here or we may be in the Doodle Den. We will be waiting to see and let the puppies tell us. If they start being able to climb out of the box here and over this ledge, then that's when we move them out, because we don't want them out and falling all over the place. These guys are little, so that's probably not going to happen by next week. But if they're needing to move around, if they're, obviously this area is quite small, if they need more space, then of course we'll move them out. Otherwise, we'll just wait till they're ready. We let the puppies tell us. For some puppies, it's right away at week 3. For other puppies, it's more close to about week 3.5. So if you have any questions, please post them in the comments below. If you take the time to comment, it really helps us and our channel. It all works with the algorithm there to be able to get us out in front of more people. Same thing if you would like this update, if you give us a thumbs up, and please take a moment and subscribe to our channel so that you get all of our videos, because each one has a little bit of new information in them. We thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next week for week 3, when we might have not only eyes open, but ears open as well.